Welcome to YouTube Pedia. The birth of a giant, the rise of a living legend. Imagine being so big that regular-sized doors seem like tiny frames. Imagine standing out in every room, every street, every crowd, not because you wanted to, but because you simply couldn't help it. This is the story of André the Giant, a man whose very existence felt like something out of myth. But behind the massive frame was a gentle, intelligent, and often misunderstood soul. Discover the greatest stories from history, science, and beyond. If you're curious about the world, subscribe now and join our journey through knowledge. A giant is born. André René Roussimoff was born on May 19, 1946 in the small village of Coulommiers, France. At birth, he seemed like any other child. But by the age of 12, he was already over 6 feet tall and weighed nearly 200 pounds. His rapid growth wasn't just unusual, it was caused by a rare disorder called acromegaly, a condition that results from excess growth hormone. His bones didn't just grow longer, they grew thicker and heavier. His parents, who were of normal height, were both stunned and concerned. His father, Boris, a Bulgarian immigrant, and his mother, Marian, of Polish descent, didn't know what to make of it. Their son was transforming into something they couldn't comprehend. Doctors didn't have clear answers. To them, he was just a giant kid. The misunderstood childhood. André's childhood was full of contradictions. He was loved by many, but also looked at like an oddity. He couldn't fit in regular school desks, and sitting in small chairs made his legs ache. Public transportation was nearly impossible. He simply didn't fit. Despite all this, André was bright, funny, and incredibly curious. At 12, he even caught the attention of Samuel Beckett, the famous Irish playwright who lived nearby. According to legend, Beckett used to drive André to school in his truck because no other vehicle could accommodate the boy's size. They rarely spoke much, but they shared a quiet bond. Years later, Beckett would write Waiting for Godot, a story about patience, isolation, and absurdity, perhaps inspired in part by his experiences with young André. The journey into wrestling begins. By his late teens, André moved to Paris, where he found work in construction. But soon he was spotted by a wrestling promoter who saw something more than just size, he saw potential. André began training and performing in small wrestling matches under the name Giant Ferret. His reputation grew rapidly. In the early 1970s, Vince McMahon Sr., founder of the WWF precursor to WWE, brought André to North America. Here he was rebranded as André the Giant, and the legend truly began. Audiences were in awe not just of his size, but his charisma. Standing over 74 and weighing more than 500 pounds, André was billed as the 8th wonder of the world. And yet, there was something strangely comforting about him. He wasn't a monster, he was a hero. A global superstar. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, André became a global attraction. He wrestled in Japan, Australia, Europe, and all across North America. Fans brought their children to see the giant. People lined up to shake his enormous hand or just catch a glimpse. But traveling was a nightmare. Planes were too small, so André often bought multiple seats. Hotel beds didn't fit him, so he had to sleep diagonally or sometimes on the floor. He needed custom-made shoes and specially tailored clothes. The world simply wasn't built for someone like him. The drinking legend. One of the most bizarre and strangely celebrated aspects of André's life was his drinking. According to many who knew him, André could drink over 100 beers in one sitting. His friends would later claim he once drank 119 beers in 6 hours. There are stories of him downing entire bottles of vodka like water. But this wasn't about partying, it was about pain management. Because of his acromegaly, André was in constant physical pain. Every step hurt. His joints ached. Wrestling was brutal on his body. Drinking dulled the pain and helped him relax. Some say he drank to forget that he was constantly being stared at, treated like a living monument, not a man. Wrestling's gentle giant. Despite his size and strength, André was known in the wrestling world as a gentle giant. He was kind to rookies, loved making people laugh, and often protected smaller wrestlers during matches. But if someone disrespected him, he had no problem showing his power. There's a story of him lifting a rude opponent and slamming him so hard that the ring shook. He also formed friendships with other wrestling legends, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Bobby Heenan among them. But behind the scenes, André kept mostly to himself. Behind the legend, pain, fame, and solitude. When people looked at André the Giant, they saw a mountain, a myth, a marvel of nature. But few ever stopped to ask, what was it like to live inside that body? What was it like to be trapped in the frame of a legend? This is the untold story of the other side of André the Giant, the part most people never saw. A story of pain, of private battles, of isolation, and finally legacy. A life of constant pain. As André got older, the effects of acromegaly began to take a heavier toll. His joints swelled, his spine curved, his knees groaned under the weight of every step. Every time he stepped into the ring, it was like walking on broken glass. Wrestling wasn't just a job anymore, it was a sacrifice. But André rarely let people see his suffering. He hid the pain behind smiles, jokes, and oversized laughs. He didn't complain, he never wanted pity. He kept going because he loved what he did. He loved the fans, the energy, the feeling of being part of something bigger than himself. In fact, doctors once told him he wouldn't live past the age of 40. But André kept defying expectations. He had to. The ring was the only place where he felt truly alive. Hollywood's gentle giant. In 1987, the world saw a new side of André when he took on a role in the now iconic film The Princess Bride. As the lovable giant Fezzik, André won over millions of hearts, especially those who didn't follow wrestling. Children adored him. Audiences were captivated by his deep voice and kind eyes. But behind the scenes, the filming wasn't easy. During production, André was already in severe pain. He couldn't support his own weight for long periods. He couldn't even hold his co-stars during some scenes. Special rigs and wires had to be used. And yet, no one on set ever heard him complain. Cary Elwes, who played Wesley, later said, "He had the biggest heart of anyone I ever knew." The entire cast loved him. They saw the man behind the myth. The secret fatherhood. Few people know that André the Giant had a daughter. Her name is Robin Christensen Rousimov, and she was born in 1979. Their relationship was distant. Not because André didn't care, but because his lifestyle made it nearly impossible to be a present father. He was always on the road, always flying from city to city, wrestling in new countries every week. Robin has said in interviews that she only met her father a few times in her life. And though there was love between them, there was also distance, emotional and physical. This part of André's life is perhaps the most heartbreaking. The giant who brought smiles to millions struggled with the very simple desire to be close to his own child. The myth grows bigger than the man's. Over time, the legend of André began to overtake the person. People no longer called him by his name, he was just the giant. Strangers asked him to pick them up. Fans shoved cameras in his face. Every step outside his home was a spectacle. In many ways, André became isolated. He couldn't go to movies, restaurants, or parks without drawing a crowd. Normal life was no longer an option. He once said, "People don't ask for my autograph because they admire me. They ask because they're amazed at my size. I'm not a person, I'm a curiosity." Even his friendships in the wrestling world were limited. While he was close to some, like Tim White, his longtime handler, or Arnold Skolland, his manager, many others just saw him as a money-making attraction. His final days. By the early 1990s, André's health was rapidly declining. He had already semi-retired from wrestling, making only special appearances. In 1993, he traveled to Paris to attend his father's funeral. While staying in a hotel, he passed away in his sleep from congestive heart failure. He was only 46 years old. The world was stunned, fans mourned, wrestlers wept. A larger-than-life figure had finally been brought down, not by any opponent but by time and biology. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered at his ranch in North Carolina. Legacy of a legend. In the years that followed, André's legend only grew. He became the first inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1993, a special ceremony held just for him. Artists painted him, filmmakers honored him, documentaries were made. Even street artist Shepard Fairey launched the iconic André the Giant campaign using André's face, turning him into a symbol of pop culture rebellion. But for those who knew him personally, André's real legacy wasn't his size. It was his heart, his kindness, his humility. He gave more than he took, he inspired more than he boasted, and he endured more than he ever revealed. The man behind the myths. André the Giant wasn't just a wrestler. He wasn't just an actor or a spectacle. He was a man burdened with a body too large for the world around him, a body that brought fame, fortune, and unshakable loneliness. He never asked to be a giant, but he chose to live as one with courage, grace, and humor. In a world that couldn't contain him, André made his own space. He lived larger, laughed louder, and loved deeply, even when the world couldn't see it. And that is what made him truly giant. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with your thoughts or theories, and most importantly, subscribe to YouTube Pedia for more mysterious, historical, and mind-blowing stories every week. Your support keeps the legends alive and helps us uncover even more forgotten tales. Thanks for being part of the journey.